Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. Today we are doing another new release. So on Fridays we do a bunch of new releases. I'm probably only going to do two today. This is my second one. I might do another one if I have time later, but I'm going to take a break right now. But later on there may be another one depending on if I get through it or not. I should be able to, but we'll see. But I saw this one, I watched a trailer a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you know what, might as well. So I decided to watch it. So today we're going to be talking about Long Story Short. Long Story Short was released in 2021, and it was written and directed by Josh Lawson. And essentially, first of all, no spoilers, of course, but the idea of this film is that we start off with this character, and he grows older. Okay, it's complicated. He gets married, and then every few minutes, a year goes by, and he doesn't remember anything that happened in that year. And so quickly, he's learning that, his marriage is falling apart, he has a kid, and there's a bunch of responsibilities, and his friend's dying, and, there's nothing he can do about it because there's just no time. And this comes from the idea that in the beginning of the movie, he mentions that, everything's later. He's pushing it out to later. He's got plenty of time. But then, of course, then the lesson's learned that you don't really have as much time as you think you do. Which, when you start watching the movie, is going to be the lesson. You're like, yeah, okay, this is going to be one of those, comedies where at the end you learn something, which we already kind of knew from the trailer and from just watching the first 10 minutes of the film. You already know that's what's going to happen. And I think that really what this movie is, if anything, is just, it's charming, right? I don't think it's particularly well done, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but I think that overall, if I had to describe this movie in one word, it would be charming. This movie is funny. It really is. The beginning is, incredibly funny, and then towards the end it gets pretty serious and just, it makes you feel good. But the issue that I have with this movie is the pacing, which I'm conflicted. Because the pacing might be off on purpose because we don't know what happens in that year that he skips. And he skips it, 10 times. And that's kind of the point of the film for the main character to have missed that time. So maybe the point is that it's not very well done in terms of, the pacing. But nonetheless, it kind of was annoying and hard to follow. Especially after, the first, 3 times he time jumps. After those, first 3 times, it gets really repetitive. It gets really annoying. It's still funny, but, it quickly loses its charmingness, you'll start watching it, and you'll be okay, this is kind of cool, I like the idea, it's funny. And then very quickly, you're like, okay, we need to, wrap this up. And I think it's, a really weird issue to have for a film like this, because we're literally watching this person's, entire life in an hour and a half. But it still felt too long somehow, which is definitely a problem. And it's hard to explain exactly how it felt, because it's still funny. There was this one moment, I'm not going to tell you what it was, it's kind of a spoiler, but, I had me rolling laughing. It is freaking hilarious. But then other times I'm just I get it's funny, but it's just not as funny as I think it could have been. It is Australian, and I didn't realize how Australian humor is. It is funny. It is very funny. It's very British as well, the humor is very similar. Very, very, very funny. It is a very funny movie. But in terms of the romance and also the drama that is, I know, supposed to be there, it is there at the end a little bit. But I feel like if we had brought that up a little bit earlier, say around the 5-year mark, if we brought in a little bit more of that earlier on, it might have actually made the transition a little bit better. And of course the ending, which I can't spoil it, might have made that better. Because I do think it's a funny movie, and it's not bad. It's just, it lacks more meaning, right? It's a meaningful movie, the ending is great, it makes you feel good, but it's really hard to explain because the pacing is really weird because you're skipping years, and also the entire thing itself, the idea that he does skip a year every few minutes, he looks at his watch a lot as if he knows when he's gonna skip. And, he just kind of says every few minutes every now and then. So we don't know for sure how many minutes it is that he skips. I'd love to take a look and see exactly when he skips and see if the actual time in the movie is the same amount of time. That'd be kind of interesting to see. But if that is true, then maybe that's why the writing might not have been as good as it could have been. But I do think story-wise, it's weird for him to know how many minutes it is exactly before he jumps. So I'm a little annoyed about that. I do think the ending was really good, if not really cheesy. I do think it was funny and heart-lifting for sure. I mean, that's kind of the point of the film. The acting, I don't want to go into depth on everything, but like the acting was really good. I did enjoy the performances quite a bit. I think the main character, the main issue with him was the writing, not necessarily just him. He was written to be very, very funny, and it was very good. But his character drags a lot, even though he's the one skipping through time. It's really weird. It really is. Drop in the comments below if you guys know what I'm talking about. There's a better way to explain it. But like, it just feels like we're skipping ahead, 10 years. But somehow the movie's still slow. I don't understand why it feels that way. I think it is. I think it is a little too slow. Or maybe it's a little too fast and then it becomes too slow. That might be it. Because in the beginning, like the first thing you see is, boom, they're getting married. Like, just like that. And then after that, it slows down, and then it gets really fast again. And I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of the pacing. The tone of the movie is really good. It's funny. It really is funny. I do wish the tone went back a little bit farther in like the 4 or 5 year mark and kind of got a little bit more dramatic instead of just like funny, because it quickly becomes not funny. For me at least, it gets very redundant and very like, okay, we get it. It's we get it. But overall, it is very funny, and if you're interested in laughing, I mean, this is definitely a movie to watch right now. I mean, it is really, really funny, and you can get it on anywhere we can rent movies. I don't think it's in theaters, but maybe it's in some theaters. It's not in my theater. You can rent it on. I rent it on Fandango now, which is my preferred rental service when it comes to new movies, because they often at times have deals and stuff like that. I recommend that. Vudu is also a good option if you like renting movies. Vudu is another option. But I'm gonna go ahead and give, long story short, a B-. Very good concept. It is kind of well done, but I think a little bit better on the execution, and it probably could have gotten a better rating. But for me, I think a B- is fair. Definitely when you want to watch if you feel like laughing a lot. I may revisit it at some point. I might buy the Blu-ray and then just like pop it in every now and then just for a couple laughs. But overall, not the best movie I've ever seen. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please, if you like the video, subscribe. Once we get to 150, I'm going to dress up like Spider-Man and go to Walmart. I know you guys want to see that, so if you want to see it, make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're liking the video, sharing with your friends, and as always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.